IRAKLI ZIRAKASHVILI versus EVGENY PRUDNIK is coming up in less than a week at East vs West 13, and I have a feeling that IRAKLI is going to take this one for several reasons. Firstly, we're going to take a look at a practice poll that they had a little while back. Now, if anything, I would tend to think that IRAKLI has probably gotten stronger since this practice poll, and EVGENY may have actually gotten a little bit weaker. EVGENY has talked about having some trouble with lagging injuries, and I don't think that he's really at his peak right now. If his peak was when he faced Devin Larratt, I think it sounds like from what he's been saying that he's a little bit off of that. But let's take a look at this practice poll. The first thing you're going to notice is EVGENY lifting his elbow, and he is trying to get his pinky pad, the meaty lower part of his palm, to go past IRAKLI's hand. He's trying to get depth in the grip. If he could, his entire hand would be past the entirety of IRAKLI's hand. This is so that he can supinate and cup through that lower part of his palm and turn IRAKLI into a hook. So you're going to see him constantly lifting and constantly trying to get around IRAKLI's hand. And then once the actual go happens, this all makes sense as we see him slide forward. He starts on this far top right corner of the pad so that he can slide his elbow down the pad. He can slide forward and to the left at the same time. This is so he can try to crash down, isolate IRAKLI's bicep, defeat his pronator, and get arm-on-arm contact. Now, he isn't quite able to do this. Even though he was lifting his elbow initially, he couldn't quite get enough depth of grip to really get all the way around IRAKLI and force the match totally inside. However, IRAKLI's position also is not the greatest ever. You can see that Prudnik does still have a pretty good degree of arm power connection to IRAKLI's arm power, partly because he's slightly supinated, but also because the depth of grip he got was really good. He has a really high hand position here. So IRAKLI is trying to fight through the hand. He's trying to top roll Prudnik, prevent the hook from happening, but he doesn't have an ideal position to do that. He is making up for that though with his insanely strong elbow flexor. And as this goes on, we see that it's just right on the verge of going inside, but Prudnik tries to drive sideways just a little bit right here. And when he does this, this is when he really gives IRAKLI access to crack that wrist back totally. Prudnik's wrist was just on the verge of going the whole time, and right here you just see him slightly lose it, just a little tiny bit right there. And now when they reset, IRAKLI is going to go sideways, and then he's going to totally take Prudnik's wrist, and this is an easy pin for him. Now here's what's so interesting, is that upon the restart, they do one more go inside of straps. This time they go a little bit slower, and we see a pretty similar setup for Prudnik. If anything, he's probably even higher this time. This is probably not a setup he'd be able to get in a match. We see him chopping down onto IRAKLI's arm with that lower part of his palm, but now he actually ends up reversing the match. So he tries to go hook initially, and he's probably pre-planning this entire thing, but of course once he goes hook, IRAKLI's gonna dump that hand, trying everything he can just to block the hook. But then IRAKLI is leaving himself vulnerable to a reversal from Prudnik to go back outside, and that's what we see. So he opens the match going more inside, just trying to be at the very front of the pad and get that arm-on-arm connection. And then by the end of the match, you see his elbow at the very back of the pad, and he's rolled out onto IRAKLI's fingertips in a top roll. So as I said, I do think that IRAKLI has gotten stronger since then, and I think that his ability to block a hook is better. We saw him defeat Rustam Babayev and Sasho Andreev pretty comfortably recently, and Sasho tried to hook him every single round, and IRAKLI looked totally in control that whole time. So I think his ability to block a hook is probably good enough to defeat Prudnik, but the thing I would be most concerned about for IRAKLI is, can Prudnik use that reversal and defeat him by going outside? IRAKLI has shown some weakness toward this strategy against David Dadyikan in the past. When David tried to hook him, it looked like it was going to be IRAKLI for an easy victory, but then David just decided to do a posting top roll instead, and he ended up beating him in that lane. So let me know what you guys think about this. I do consider IRAKLI to be the slight favorite, but Prudnik probably has more technical options overall, and all the options he has are elite, so it really won't surprise me whoever ends up taking this one. And we are less than 1 week out from match day.